Palestine Action has issued a warning to Britain that it will continue its tea activity. It has also ramped up its attacks on MPs and members of the public. We've seen the arson attack on Sharon Hodgson. I'm going to say to you today that there is a huge level of hypocrisy going on in this country at the moment, because we saw the jailing of so-called far-right activists, while similarly we have seen also very, very little action taken on Palestine Action, a group that actually is really, really coming close to an assassination attempt on a member of Parliament, on a member of the House of Lords, on a member of the media, or a commentator like me. Hello everyone, this is Andre Walker. This is just a really big request to subscribe. That's all you have to do to make me happy today. Anyway, I want to talk to you a little bit about Sharon Hodgson, the Labour MP. She is the boss of Labour Friends of Israel. She has previously had a brick through a window, blood on your hands painted on her wall, and yesterday there was a firebomb attack. We don't know who did it yet. However, I think we can all imagine. Now, at the same time, and I'm not going to go into the full details of this case, there has been a group of people in Essex who've been making far-right music, and three of them, a father, a son and a daughter, have been thrown in prison, and the police once again are absolutely gleeful about the fact that they have smashed a far-right group. Well, actually, look, I genuinely do not believe that you should be singing all sorts of far-right songs and doing the Hitler salutes and all that sort of thing, but I don't believe that you believe we should be doing that either. I think there are a small number of extremists who will do that, and we largely have to ignore them. They're not really inciting violence, they're not genuine teas, and they are not really a threat to the United Kingdom. So what is the purpose of rounding these people up and arresting them? The purpose is all about the numbers, balancing numbers. We talked about this in a previous video with the whole situation of the Jog On campaign in Surrey, where they needed to balance numbers between, they had a 2% in Surrey increase in the number of SA crimes as a result of uncontrolled immigration. So what they needed to do was arrest a lot of white people in order to balance up those numbers. Let me talk about National Action. Or rather, what I prefer to call them is the drinkers of the Friar Penketh Wetherspoons in Warrington, which many of you will know. Basically, National Action became a prescribed tea group on the grounds that it was a threat to British national security and they were going to kill various MPs. Actually, what they did was got drunk openly in the Friar Penketh Wetherspoons in Warrington and discussed how much they disliked uncontrolled immigration, how much they disliked liberal democracy, how much they disliked homosexuality, how much they disliked the Labour Party or whatever it was. Now look, fundamentally, if you compare that to the T-cells that have been brought in by Hamas and Hezbollah in Britain, that is an entirely different thing. National Action haven't attacked an RAF plane, which may have refueled a fighter going out to the Middle East, but Palestine Action have done that. And so we look today at the police doing two things at the same time. Number one, taking really very little action over the Sharon Hodgson firebomb attack, and taking enormous amounts of action about somebody singing some pretty off-colour songs. Now, I know what the police will say. I know what the CPS will say. I know what the magistrates and judges will say. Well, we should be tough on both of them. Yes, yes, yes. But one of them's getting pissed in a pub. The other are actually attacking people. And I'm not on either of their side. I don't support neo-Nazism. Of course I don't. This country was the first country really to step up and oppose Adolf Hitler under Winston Churchill, the fact that people forget. But we need to start putting things into perspective. And what worries me is the Neil Basu view of the world. Neil Basu was the police officer in charge of T at the Metropolitan Police. And when he left office, it became very, very clear that he was a big fan of radical extremist Muslims, and actually his fundamental problem was with white people that he perceived to be far right, because he was constantly going on about the fact, he's constantly going on now about the fact that the biggest threat to Britain is the jihadis, of course, but the biggest growing threat to Britain is the far right. And of course, it's the biggest growing threat because they've managed to find reasons to arrest people and lock people up. As I said, with the Jog On campaign in Surrey, the big problem here is that when you skew these figures, you not only deliberately arrest people who are innocent, or rather overcharge them in the case of these people in Essex, but you not only do that, but what you also do is you skew the figures. We now have police resources being put into far-right T threats that really don't exist, that are much more in the imagination of the people that come up with it. I mean, if you think about it, let's talk about the threat of Russian spies in Britain, of which there is a threat. But you look at that guy who was prosecuted for being a Russian spy. What he actually did was he attempted to make contact with the Russian embassy, but he actually accidentally made contact with the British security services. And the British security services pretended to be Russian and dealt with him. Now, okay, he did offer to spy for Russia, but he never actually met any Russians and he never actually did anything. And so to compare that to the battalions of troops that the Islamic Republic of Iran is putting onto our streets, that is a far more worrying thing. The fact that tea money is being sent back to the Revolutionary Guards in Iran is a far bigger issue. And so Sharon Hodgson, I have to say, I've got very little time for her. She's a bit of a lefty. And also, I think these Labour friends of getting a free holiday abroad are a bit of a waste of time. Bluntly, it's just an opportunity for your embassy to bribe you with a free holiday. But okay, Sharon Hodgson is a member the chairman of Labour Friends of Israel, and good on her for doing that if that's what she wants to do. She shouldn't have her house firebombed, and we should be saying to the police, forget two-tier care, forget the lies and dishonesty that people are coming up with. We now need to say that you need to focus your efforts on the jihadi Ts that are genuinely in the country, that are genuinely landing, that are genuinely operational. We saw thousands of them out in force at Palestine Action protests. How many members of Palestine Action, how many supporters of Palestine Action have we arrested so far? 500, 600, 700? People openly holding signs saying, I support a T group. That is not acceptable, particularly when any MP is being attacked. And of course, whilst Jo Cox, it was unclear that she was attacked by somebody far right. We think that was just a lunatic. David Amess was genuinely the victim of a terror attack. And, well, of course, now what the left have said is, no, it's both Jo Cox and David Amess just trying to say that there is a threat to the right from jihadis, or perceived right. There is a threat to the left from far-right groups. Thank you so much for watching this video. I just want to remind you to donate to the Patriot Fund. The link is below, and please do subscribe if you can. I want to say to you, we did try to give you a little bit of an update on the Patriot Group, but our internet service provider is still preventing us from doing that. We will get that out. And thank you so much to those of you that bought tickets for the dinner next week. Until next time, goodbye.